news all the time. AlJazeera.net/English.
Personal blogs by professional journalists. blogs.aljazeera.net. This is Al Jazeera.
Good to have your company. Warm welcome to this news hour, coming to you live from Doha with me, David Foster, and from Al Jazeera's news centres in Doha, Washington, D.C. and London. Also live from Libya, Egypt and Yemen. These are the main stories. Opposition fighters managed to fend off fierce attacks by Gaddafi's forces, with reports of more deaths in Libya.
I'm Nick Clark in Washington. The top story from the Americas. The US president says Washington and its allies are still considering a military response in Libya.
I want to send a very clear message to those who are around Colonel Gaddafi. It is their choice to make how they operate moving forward, and they will be held accountable.
I'm Stephen Cohen in London with the news from Europe, including
they were withdrawn yesterday after a serious misunderstanding about their role, leading to their temporary detention.
Embarrassment for the UK as the Foreign Minister admits he was in charge of ordering the failed diplomatic mission to Libya.
There is no power sharing. The power sharing is something that is fake, it's not true.
One of Iraq's most powerful politicians lifts the lid on the country's political state of play. No to foreign intervention, yes to a no-fly zone. The words of one Libyan rebel leader who says his men can take on Colonel Gaddafi's rockets and tanks, but not his air power. Well, supporters of the Libyan leader have been moving east, trying to push the rebels back and recapture those towns that have fallen. Let's start in the capital, Tripoli. Gaddafi making a brief appearance in the symbolic Green Square, broadcast live on state television, much to the enthusiasm of those there. Moving east to the city of Misrata. This is a big place, and there the rebels were filmed celebrating what they say is a victory over Gaddafi's forces. And yet we hear there's been more fighting there, and the rebels say they are very worried that Gaddafi's forces are regrouping. Now move along the coastline past Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte, and you come to Ras Lanouf, and there pro-Gaddafi forces are bombarding this oil-rich city. And we've heard that several people have been killed, including one entire family trying to get away. Lawrence Lee has the latest.
The more pictures emerge of the fighting, the more it looks like a civil war. There are various front lines. This just one in the big town of Misrata. If these pictures look upsetting, they're nothing compared to the rest. Odd then that the government says it's trying not to cause too much death and destruction there. Very odd that Gaddafi himself appears entirely blind to details, like civilians or children being hurt.
We have cells that were activated, took up weapons to kill policemen, kill soldiers. There were casualties on both sides for 2 or 3 days, and weapons were stolen. Now, on both sides, the army and the police aside, the rebels, there have been at the most 100 people killed.
Out in the desert, it's obviously less important if Gaddafi's military can't shoot straight, and it has been striking how inaccurate their bombing runs have been from the air. While it's true that some weapons dumps have been destroyed, in many places the warplanes have continually missed their targets, But even if on occasion the rebels do find a way of shooting one down, air supremacy remains a huge psychological advantage for Gaddafi.
When we arrived, we didn't find any opposition because the people here are good. The people welcome us and greet us. But when we were inside, 2 Mirage planes overflew us and 1 helicopter. They wanted to shoot, but we shot them first.
All the same, if there are questions over the aptitude of the Libyan military, then the same must go for the rebel forces, whose euphoric advance was met with organised resistance they couldn't handle, and so little hospitals have been overwhelmed. It's also emerging that many of the fighters have no idea how to use their weapons and are injuring themselves. Some of these pictures suggest a desire to fight is all well and good until the reality of armed battle hits home. So with the prospects of the country tearing itself to pieces, it's hardly surprising that voices close to the regime are once again urging dialogue. The hope in this intervention on Libyan TV must have been that it sounded better than if it had come from Gaddafi.
Dear brothers and sisters, this is a chance in history. We are threatened and need to act today, to work on preparing for national dialogue and to calm the violence, so Libyans all over the country can feel safe and secure and at peace, so we can go back to school and work.
Gaddafi supporters in Tripoli might buy that argument. The east of the country might think it a trick. But as time goes on and the violence looks open-ended, it's not as though anyone else has any better ideas. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Let's go to Benghazi, talk to Al Jazeera's Huda Abdul Hamid. I know you're in the opposition stronghold, Huda, but are you getting a sense of where Gaddafi's troops are moving and what ground they may be gaining or losing?
Well, we did hear from several sources that Gaddafi has moved a lot of his troops from the south and from other parts in western Libya towards Sirte. Our sources tell us that about 2 brigades had gone to Sirte to fortify that town. That is also because there seems to be some tribal issues going on inside Sirte, because some of the, it's a very complicated story, but some of the tribes that are in Ben Jawad had been hurt by the Gaddafi forces, and now they are the same branches of those tribes who are inside Sirte have rebelled against Gaddafi's own tribe, the Gaddafi tribe. So it seems that over the last 48 hours he has fortified that city being really the symbol of his 42 years of hold on this country. Sirte also being the next upcoming battle here. Both sides are now at a deadlock, and both sides know that whoever wins over Sirte will probably be much closer to victory in the overall uprising.
Well, we saw pictures of the rebel forces, and while they look enthusiastic, the best you can say about them is that they're ill-trained, accidentally shooting each other, even themselves. So is there a sense now that they're realizing the scale of what they're taking on, or a bit daunted perhaps now?
Well, I think there is, we are in a period of sobering up. Just a few days ago, people